Yeah, what's going on, y'all? NELAC the Beat Ninja checking in with you on this Monday, July 2nd, 2018. Today's video is going to be a beat session slash tutorial slash drum kit review, working on a track for my anime beat tape, so obviously it's going to be sample based. This particular track is going to be in the vein of LoFi Hiphop, utilizing sounds from a brand new drum kit that my boy STLNDRMS released this past Friday, as a matter of fact, called Slappy Drums. So for all you lo-fi producers out there who are also fans of drums and been wondering how to get a handle a couple of his sounds, you have the opportunity to do so. And we are going to review the sounds from this particular drum kit in today's video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it right now. Alright, so we are in Reason 9.5, which is usually my weapon of choice. This will give all brand new Reason users a good opportunity to see how my workflow usually is. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's actually, kind of random at times. As far as, it usually depends on what it is and I'm trying to accomplish and what it is that I want to do when it comes to using Reason. And with that being said, question of the day: what is your most liked aspect of Reason, regardless of whether you have 9.5 or the brand new version 10 that they have out? Leave your answer in the comments below. So diving right into this right now, like I said, I'm going to be utilizing it's going to be a sample based track, LoFi Hip-Hop. I got 3 different copies of Kong. This is the drum machine virtual instrumental rack instrument that has been my go-to instrument when it comes to laying out my drums. Long time ago, it used to be the redrum, but that was when I had Reason 3. But for me, I usually prefer Kong because of the fact that it gives me that old school vibe, like I'm using an MPC or something like or a machine, because of the 16 pads, and it's real easy for me to program any sample chops or program drums. So I have 3 here because of the way that I'm going to chop up the sample. I have 2 drums here that will that I will have all my chops programmed, and I also have this drum machine right here. This will be where I have all the drums the drum sounds I'm going to use from the Slappy Drums kit. And right now we're just getting the idea of what drums we like to use. Like that one. I like some of these. I like that one. Kind of like that one. Alright, so here's what we'll do. We'll do that one, and then we'll layer that with another kick. I know which one it was. Yeah, that was it. So if we play that together, kind of get that undertone oomph to it. All right, so something to make your attack a little bit easier without having to necessarily push 2 keys at the same time. I chain these two together, and the way that I do it, I will go to the first one, first key, first pad, and then I'll make my way over here to the pad group. I want to link these two pads together, so I'll hit D for the first one, and then I go over to the second one, and then I'll hit D again. So now both of them should be playing at the same time, and I'm only hitting one of the keys. In this case, I'm hitting the first key that triggers pad 1. So every time I trigger pad 1, it automatically triggers the second one. So both Slappy kick number 42 and 25 are playing at the same time. Yep, like that. There we go. I like that one. These are some really good snares. Trying to find that one I really liked. There we go. That was that one. All right, now let's go ahead and dive into these hats. Yep, I like that. Then last but not least, he only has four categories: hats, kicks, percussion, and snares. See what kind of percussion he got up in here. Alright. Might find a use for that. Save this file. Alright, so we got our drums. So now we are getting into the sample chop portion of this tutorial. Let's get into the actual videos that we're going to, well, the music that we're going to use. Anime tape. Cool. Here we go. Mary's theme from Mary and the Witch's Flower. That is today's sample derived, and this is going to be part of the anime tape that I'm working on right now. We are now dropping the file. For all of you YouTubers and beat makers out there, especially those who use Reason, this is how I now do digital chopping. What I do is I'll go in edit mode. I should already be in edit mode. And I go to slice edit. With slice edit, when you upload an audio file, be it MP3 or WAV, it actually recognizes a lot of the starting points and will give you indicators and markers, as you can clearly see in the video. In this portion of the video, you can see that it marks off all of the most important trigger points of the instrumentation. So if I press play, points that I know that I want to chop, I can hear it, and most of them are also marked. Now some of them may not be marked, in that case I'll have to find where they are, which is fine with me, and we'll get into that later, but I know where my first chop is. Oops, wait a minute. One other thing too, this is a good learning opportunity. If you want to get some real on point dead on, spot on chops, make sure that your snap function here is off. So that way you don't end up making the mistake of it being on snap. You're trying to cut right here, but it doesn't cut. Now right here it actually cuts. So, but there are times in which I'll try to cut at a certain point and it wouldn't cut right where I wanted to do it. So in order to avoid that, make sure snap is turned off, and then when you're done chopping the sample, chopping the wave file, then you could turn snap back on if necessary. So I'm going to stop here. Well, it'll be edit here. I'm gonna go ahead and go through all my chops. So when we come back, you'll notice all the chops. Okay, we are back. And we are done with our chops. The only thing I have to do right now before we program these chops into the Kong is clear out all the dead space per se, all the parts of the audio that I am not going to use. And I'm going to do a quick cut through this. I'll do this real quick and then come right back. Okay, we've now cleared out all the parts of the audio that we're not going to use. And at this point, we are ready to start saving these files. I don't even have to mess around with this same track because I want to do it as if I'm using an MPC when it comes to programming the chops. I'm going to save the files in a separate folder. I usually save all my samples and chops so in order to prevent using a lot of memory on my laptop itself. I save it onto my external hard drive, which is what I also utilize to run all of my sounds. So that's what we're going to do right now. If you paying attention to this now, probably going to do another quick edit of this too. All right, so whenever I want to save or bounce down anything that I'm chopping within Reason, I'm gonna right click the file or the chop itself. I'll go to bounce, and you got a couple different options. You can bounce in place, bounce clips to new samples, bounce clips to disk, bounce clips to new recordings, bounce audio clips to MIDI. I usually do bounce clip to disk. So that way, by doing that, I'm already in my sample projects folder on my hard drive. All right. I'm gonna save this as MW01, Mary Witch 01. Bit depth has to be 16 bits, otherwise it's not gonna open properly. The sample rate is still at 44,100 hertz, so the quality is not going to be lost in the chop. So now that's done, and by doing that, I can now delete that and not have to worry about it anymore because it's already saved on my hard drive. So that's what I'm about to do for the remainder of these chops. And we will be right back after I finish doing it. All right, back again, and you can see all of the chops that were in the track are gone because I just finished bouncing all of the chops onto my hard drive. So now I can officially delete that because I don't need that anymore, and we can dive right into the the two Kong machines that we're utilizing for the samples. Starting with the first one here, I go to pad 1, click on the browse drum patch button to open up the files, and this time I'm going to my sample projects folder. For me, it helps keep all my chops organized so that way I don't lose any files. Okay, so these are all 24 of my chops. I didn't even think I was going to find this many to tell you the truth, but hey, it is what it is. So you hear that chop there. I'm gonna go ahead and save that in there. Go to the second pad, second one, and just go through each one and keep saving them. Going through each and every one of these. So obviously this will take a little bit of time to upload these chops, so I'm going to cut this part and return after everything's uploaded. All right, and we are back. All of our chops are uploaded, and the way I decided to do this is all of the familiar chops are together within their own designated Kong drum machines. And so this was the last chop for that introduction. And for the first part, the piano, with the piano solo right before the remaining instruments come in, we'll call that part A. Some people may call that the verse per se, but I decided to keep the intro and the verse separate from each other. So that took about 13 chops for that first verse, and it was only like 11 chops for the introduction. So that way I know, depending on how I want to program this beat, I know which drum machine to go to. So we have our intro chops in Kong 1, verse chops in Kong 2, and then our Slappy Drums in Kong 3. Whether or not I decide to add any other additional instruments will depend on the overall flow of this track, an overall workflow, if I end up getting inspired and decide to add like a bass line or some other random instrument or synthesizer to it to kind of add to the aesthetic of it. That we will figure out later. In the meantime, in between time, I'm going to show you another little trick that I do in order to, it kind of works as a gate for those who use SPs, SP303, 404, doesn't matter the SP, you know what I mean when I say gate. When you hit the gate button on the SP, it will cause that, it will cause the pad that you're triggering the sample or the drum sound, all you have to do is hold on to it and it will quickly cut off when you let go. This technique works as a gate, and I actually kind of found this out on my own, in case you ever wondered, for you Reason users, how to do that. So what I do is whenever I'm utilizing the different pads, I set it up so it will automatically upload the NN Nano sampler, because each pad can have its own little rack module, and these are the different drum modules that you can choose for your particular pad. I like using the Nano sampler because it again is a lot that you can do within that one pad with it. Like you can reverse the sound if you want to. You could change the pitch, which is actually what I'm going to do with these with each one of these pads. I think that's it right there. Over here relying on my perfect pitch right now to try to get it right at the key of F. I think I got it close enough to F. Bottom line, that's the sound that we're going to use. And then I'm going to go here where it says amp envelope in this section. In order to set your pads up as a sort of gate mode, you'll go to here, push the, instead of sloping, push it up to gated, and then take the decay and turn it all the way hard left to the very left for the decay. By doing that, now you have your gated mode set and triggered on the pad. And I usually do that with all of my chops, so that way I can have a clean chop and then go back and fix it in the sequencer in sequence mode down here. So I'm gonna cut it again, so that way I can take time to put adjust these settings and place them on all of these different chops in Kong 1 and Kong 2. So I'll be right back. And we are back. It took me a little bit longer than expected to finish this, but that's only because I had 24 chops to deal with that I had to set up the way that I wanted to, which is cool. So in case you didn't understand what I was doing, not only was I setting up the gate mode on each of these tracks, I was also pitching each one of these down. So with this particular pitch, it like affects the pitch the normal way, where the sound, the key of each chop goes down, but so does the tempo. So it's going to be a little bit slower. Each one of these chops is just slightly slower than the original tempo of the Mary's theme song. And that's for each of the chops in both Kong 1 and Kong 2. And what I'm choosing to do for tracking purposes, I've started keeping all of the samples together within one track, so that way all of the samples can be edited, mixed within its own track. Now when it comes to the Kong with my Slappy drums, if you notice, I have 4 different tracks, because what I did by hitting tab, it'll take you to the back view. These are each of the pads for the audio, and I'm choosing to do left right to give it that stereo sound. And so each pad is running through its own individual track. So 3 and 4, that's left and right, going through this first input. Next pad going through the second one. Third pad going through the third one. Fourth pad going through the fourth one. Now for those who are very observant, you'll probably be asking yourself, why you got 4 tracks but you got 5 pads? Here's why. If you remember earlier in the video, these 2 pads are triggered, are playing at the same time to create a layered kick, using 2 different Slappy drum kicks. So what I'm doing, output 3 and 4 for pad 1, but I'm also doing the exact same output for the second pad. So now you can hear both that are linked together. So both of these tracks are running through both of these pads are running through one track, to answer your question. And then the rest of them in the drum output, you have to set it up. Whenever you are tracking out in this way, you have to make sure that the drum output is set up properly. Otherwise, you're not going to hear anything. So output 5 and 6. Now you can hear the snare. This is the hi-hat right here. It's running on 7 and 8, third track. Now you can hear it. And then of course, last but not least, our drum sound that we chose here. That's 9 through 10. Now you can hear it. Alright, so now we are ready to start putting this beat together. This is going to be interesting, the direction I decide to go with this. So today I'm actually going to start with the drums. Sometimes I'll start with the sample if I'm chopping a sample, but most of the time I usually start with the drums. So that's what we're going to do today. Oh, wait a minute. Let's go down. Don't forget, for Reason users, beginning Reason users, if you're trying to use a different instrument, but on your keyboard or drum machine, drum pad, whatever you're using, whatever controller you're using in conjunction with Reason, please make sure that you go into the sequencer and actually highlight the one that you want to use. Now I can hear my drums. Now, considering the tempo, let's see. That was kind of spot on. Alright, so 90 BPMs it is. If it sounds different later on, we'll just adjust. So quantize that. That's probably going to be the only thing that I quantize, because I've become I'm like pro anti-quantize. When I started making beats in Reason, I used to be strictly quantized to make it sound nice. But then the more I studied my craft, the more I realized that it actually sounds better and it sounds more realistic. It sounds more human when you don't quantize every single damn thing. Now I only quantize when I feel it's necessary. So for example, in order to help me stay on time, the more I start using less of the metronome, I usually maybe do a couple drums here and there, quantize those parts just to clean some things up. But for the most part, I don't really quantize as much as I used to. So for this, I wanted to make sure that at least the snare was quantized, so that way I can build around that. Okay, second take right here in measures 5 through 8. It's actually sounded pretty good to me. I feel like I got that lined up. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. There we go. All right, so now that sounds better to me. So I'm going to go ahead and change the velocity level on these. Now, I like that for a completely different reason. Matter of fact, I like it so much that I'm going to add that. That was unexpected. And keep in mind that will happen sometimes too. Copy loop the track. And don't enable loop playback. Cool. All right, so in other words, we're just going to leave it at that. The way I wanted it. Yep. There we go. This version will have hi-hats. Alright, so we're done with our drums. Now we are ready to play around with the arrangement of the sample. All right, and that's pretty much it right there, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be some other effects I'm going to add to the samples to give it that real dusty, compressed kind of feel to it, due to the direction that I want to go with this. But I'm going to do that later. I don't know exactly when I'm going to release this track, but it's going to be after I finish the other tracks I'm working on for the anime beat tape that's slated to release this month. My overall thoughts about the Slappy Drums drum kit: I love it. When it comes to doing lo-fi hip-hop production, these sounds are some really good sounds, and I commend Drums for taking that next step and providing these drums for those that are into lo-fi hip-hop. And it's worth the investment. And that's all I'm gonna say to all the producers watching this right now. It's worth the investment. It's only $20 too. And that's really good. That's a really good price considering the fact that most drum kits nowadays run at a minimum of $30 or more. So to get some really good sounds for the whole vein of lo-fi hip-hop and only at $20, it's well worth it. So I highly encourage you to go ahead and invest in it. The link to the drum kit is in the description below. When you click on the link, it's going to take you to Stolen Drums' website, and then all you got to do is just click on Slappy Drums. He has a separate link in his list of links that says Slappy Drums. It'll take you to the drum kit, and that's where you could purchase it. So again, just click on the link below, the stolendrums.com/NELAC. Go to Slappy Drums. That's where you'll be able to purchase the kit. Until next video, this is NELAC the Beat Ninja signing out. I appreciate you tuning in. God bless. Until the next time.